screaming at football fever, football fever. We know how to do it. Football is back. Bradford City v Wycombe. What a game it is going to be for just to watch some proper good football. And Wycombe aren't exactly the team you'd exactly want to watch proper good football under Mike Dodds, and that's the big difference. They have the back line is going to take some breaking down, and the transfer business they've done, it is unbelievable for a club like Wycombe to have the resources to do, that they run really well, and that'll be the reason why they stick with Mike Dodds. They did it with Bloomfield when he had a slow start, so it might come good, but his football is absolutely dire unless they've been working on it in pre-season. We could see a different Wycombe. I don't think we are gonna, and I think that's what we can come into the first game of the season with, a bit of a bounce, and that's what we're coming in with the promotion, with the momentum. Wycombe aren't coming into it with momentum. They're coming into it on a bad run of form under Mike Dodds, and then the disappointing playoffs that there were performance-wise more than even the results, because the performances were absolutely shocking to say the least. Home form were fantastic for Bradford City last season, and that is what gives me confidence and hope that we can get a first win, and I think we are gonna. I'm gonna back us for a 1-0. Luton v Wimbledon is a story of a lion up against a dog. The lion is gonna beat the dog, but the dog will scrap. It will bark, but at the end of the day, it won't roar. And Luton are going to be roaring. Wimbledon are going to be barking, and that's the difference. And that is the quality in a lot of League One this season. The difference from the top end to the bottom, and it'll really show in that one. I think that the fact that Wimbledon could bark, it could roar off the roars for a period of time, but at the end of the day, the star power that Luton have got, that lion is going to rip into the bones of the dog, unfortunately. And that dog is normally solid defensively, but it ain't got a bone to scratch against the lion in Luton. So I'm going to go with a 3-0 Luton win, which will dampen Wimbledon's hopes with how good they are defensively. I think when you look at that star line, that front line of Luton, compared to the back line of Wimbledon, however good it is, it's going to be very hard to resist that for 90 minutes. And I think they'll end up caving in. I think they'll hold on maybe for 60 minutes, maybe at 1-0 or 0-0. And then when the subs start to take place, bit of tiredness still with it being early on in the season, and lack of sharpness. I think that then the subs and the bench of Luton will just play into the hands of them, and they'll take the game away. 12:30 are treated to Cardiff v Peterborough. Now this one's a tough one to call, because I don't think Cardiff are going to be. I say it in my predictions, if you haven't watched that, do. But I don't expect them to be as strong as some suggest. I do think they'll lose a lot of the key players in the back end of August, but they haven't yet. Salic could start. And when you look at that, again, you look at the front line compared to Peterborough's back line. That back line conceded 80 plus goals last season. That Cardiff strike force will tear it apart if they can break them down. If they can, get some good passing play, passing movements in that from that midfield to the forward line, and I think they can. I think you can easily bypass Peterborough's press and get in behind them. I think they could have a field day, and I think that's what it's going to turn out to be. I think Cardiff will get 3. I think Peterborough is good for a goal, so I'm going to say 2. I'm going to say 3-2. Like I said, I don't think they've improved the back line, Peterborough, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how Cardiff play. I think from what I've seen of Brian Barry Murphy is passing out from the back manager, so I think there could be room for Peterborough to press and to nick the ball off them and to pounce on a few of their mistakes, which I think will happen because it's early on in the reign. I think they will be prone to error, but I think Peterborough, they're too easy to play against defensively, and that Cardiff line will just rip it to shreds. And that's where you can tell the quality of a Cardiff via Peterborough this season. Blackpool Stevenage, what do you get when two rhinos cross each other? They just charge each other with the horns and no one comes out on top. And that's what I'm expecting with this one. I'm going 0-0. I think both have superb defences. I think they'll be right up there in maybe the top 6 of defences this season, and strike force is just lacking a bit. I don't see either team having too big of a strike force that will be able to come up with a bit of magic. I think that's the difference, and that's what Blackpool are missing this season without your Aptu, without your Sonny Careys. I'm lacking that bit of magic in the final third. Nigel Clough takes on his former club in Burton Albion on the weekend, and Burton, they were 9th in the table when Gary Bowyer took over. They had a massive turnaround, and you'd expect them to carry that on somewhat if they do want to have more of a mid-table push or to stay up comfortably this season. Whereas Mansfield, their recruitment has been one of the best in the league in my opinion. I still think that they are lacking that star striker. I think that's the difference from them to put on a playoff charge. But I see a lot of quality in that back line and in that midfield to control this game and maybe take it away from Burton, who are going to sit in and perhaps play for a point or try and nick one. That's the way Gary Bowyer likes to play his football, and I think Mansfield will just have enough to penetrate, bang, we'll have you for a 1-0. Doncaster back in League One, starting their era back in this division with Exeter at home. Could they have asked for much of a better game? I don't think they could have, judging by my predictions anyway. Home game, you'd fancy them. They were very strong at home last season. They have your Luke Molyneux, who's a very strong midfield, adding to that with Robbie Gotts. The back line is looking stronger and stronger each season, and I would back them for a clean sheet. I don't see Exeter scoring in this game, and I see Doncaster getting 2 goals for a 2-0 win to kickstart their League One season off to a flyer. Huddersfield v Leyton Orient is one of the games of the weekend. This is a real mouth-waterer. It's dripping with all sorts of juices. It's got the juices flowing. But I don't think it's going to be that sort of a game. I think if this is in September, October, certainly that is the narrative, because there's that sharp edge. Orient normally come good there, but they are known for starting slow in League One. Huddersfield under Lee Grant, we don't know what to expect, and I think that will take a bit of time for them to get used to his style of play, for optimism and for excitement and the energy to build around the football club. I think they need to get off to a good start. I don't see it coming, especially with such a good opposition in Leyton Orient, who are going to be well drilled, which Wellens is going to get them organised and set for the task for whatever Lee Grant Huddersfield will throw at them. But it is hard not to look at the star power of Huddersfield. You can't look past Alfie May, you can't look past the quality they've got. I mean, it is unbelievable. They've got 3-star strikers who could go in any other team. The midfield is just solid as a rock, and the back line, you can't see them conceding with it. So you look at the team and it's just got star power all over it, and you think they're going to walk it, but I do think it will take time for them to get going. So I think it could be cagey. I think it certainly could. I think it could be a lot of 1-2s passing, players playing the game themselves without much free flowing end-to-end football. I think it could be a game of 2 flies rather than 2 bees. I don't think there's going to be much sting to the game. 1-1. Lincoln host Reading. Feel good factor around Reading with new owners and a brighter future. A bit more optimism can be expected around Reading, that they are going to be more stable. They've made a good transfer window, in my opinion. They've took Paudie O'Connor off Lincoln, which massively improves the back line. They have got that quality in the forward line as well to take a game away from an opposition. You have your Nibs, your Mark Mahoney's. But I think this is going to be another cagey game, a bit of a stalemate. I think one will nick it, and I'm going to go with Lincoln. I fancy a corner or a scrappy goal like that they can defend, and then they're going to get a goal from somewhere, and they end up winning 1-0 in my opinion. But Reading on course for a very successful season, no doubt about that. Plymouth host Barnsley, and I'm going for my second away win. Barnsley to win 3-1 against Plymouth. I'm very unsure about Tom Cleverley as a manager. He did alright at Watford given the circumstances, but he wants to play out, and I think Barnsley away from home, I think the way Hurricanes set Barnsley up in the 5 games that he had last season with a high pressing, and the way he's built this team, I think they can catch Plymouth out from playing out and maybe not looking as sharp. A very big change system and in the playing squad as well. I'd fancy Barnsley in this one. I just think they're going to have the wind against the backs, and they're going to be pressing, and they're going to force mistakes, and I think that's how a lot of teams can catch Plymouth out this season in League One. It's a bit of a different kettle of fish. It's more physical. Can they do it against these type of teams? I don't think they can. I think Barnsley are going to get a lot of joy from pressing high, and a lot of teams in League One will against Plymouth. I think when teams sit deep, they'll be able to penetrate, and they'll win 1 or 2-0. It'll look very comfortable, but I don't know if it'll look so comfortable when teams are pressing high, especially when they're at home, and the fans could get on the back with a few early mistakes. Rotherham, Port Vale, two teams who I'd expect to be in and around that relegation battle. Still not massively convinced on Port Vale, but I think they're going to have enough grit about them. Can the same be said for Rotherham? I'm not sure, because when the goings got tough for Rotherham over the few seasons, that is when they've sort of crumbled, and I feel like that's something that can happen again. I don't see enough quality in that team in the forward line to be able to break down a Downmoor side. They're going to be even more rigid than you've ever seen a Downmoor side now, because Port Vale have, in a big budget, and he's normally like that anyway, so that they're going to be very deep. They're going to have to soak in a lot of pressure, and Rotherham are probably going to have a lot of the ball, and that won't suit them. So I fancy a nil for Rotherham. And Port Vale, can they nick a goal from somewhere? I don't think so. I'm going 0-0, and a lot of draws they had away from home did Port Vale last season. I think that'll continue here on Saturday. Wigan take on Northampton to kickstart their League One season, and I'm going to go 1-0 Wigan. I don't see enough in that Northampton side to be able to break down Wigan. They're going to be solid at the back under Ryan Lowe this season. He's been known for being quite pragmatic, but on the ball they can be quite flexible and fluid, especially when it's that sort of 3-5-2 that is used at Preston. They get iron wide to the wing backs and they be able to cause overloads, and I think that's what they'll do against Northampton. I think they'll definitely profit from getting iron wide, getting the balls into the area, and you just know that Darragh Costello is going to score in this one. It's written in the stars, and I think they will win it 1-0 from a Costello goal. Sunday afternoon retreat to Stockport v Bolton. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I think whoever has the least amount of possession will probably win the game. I can see Bolton struggling to get going, maybe playing it around too much, being a bit too cautious on the ball, not taking enough risks on it, with it being first game away at Stockport as well. And I think Stockport will get going a bit, and I think they'll be right up against it and pressing at them high and forcing errors, and I think they can get a bit of joy from that. And then you can't look past Bolton though, and the energy that they've got in their team, and I think it'll wake them up, and it could then turn into an end-to-end game, but I think it'll start off a bit sluggish, and then I think we'll get into what could be what we're seeing is a top four, two teams who will be in the top four, showing the quality that's on show in League One this season. So I see goals in it, definitely see goals, and I think it's going to be a very entertaining 2-2 Desmond draw. So they're my predictions that are on screen now. A lot of draws and a lot of 2-0s as well, a few 0-0s in there. So I said it in my predictions, I think it could be a bit of a boring League One season for scorelines, but it's definitely going to be one with a lot of quality in it. Strap yourself in, because football's back. Enjoy yourself on the weekend, but enjoy yourself by being disciplined. Have a good one.